In the year 2347, humanity made first contact with the Galactic Concord, a powerful group of alien civilizations that ruled the stars. They had waited for this moment for decades. The meeting took place on a huge space station called Syra Prime, floating near a giant blue planet with rings of ice and dust. A small team of humans arrived in a simple silver ship. They wore dark blue uniforms with the Earth symbol on the shoulder. Among them was Kyle Bennett, a quiet man with short brown hair and sharp eyes. He was a lieutenant in the Earth Defense Corps. He stood tall, but his hands were tense at his sides. Inside the station, the hall was cold and bright. Tall alien beings sat on high seats around a circle. They were the judges. The Veln, with silver skin and glowing crystal eyes, spoke first. Their voice was calm but distant, like wind through metal trees. They looked at the humans and said, "Your technology is weak. Your weapons are slow. Your people fight among yourselves. You have no place in the higher ranks of the galaxy." A hush fell over the human team. Kyle did not look away. He watched as the aliens passed their judgment. Earth was labeled a Tier 4 species. Not a threat, not important, barely worth watching. Back on Earth, the news spread fast. People saw the video of the aliens speaking. Some felt shame, others felt anger. Cities lit up with protest signs, but most felt helpless. The Concorde had ships that could cross stars in hours. Earth had only just learned how. Kyle returned home, but he did not speak much. He walked through the quiet streets of Denver, past schools and parks, and wondered how anyone could call this weak. These were families, workers, teachers, fighters. Then, without warning, the sky changed. 3 weeks later, the Xiron came. No message, no warning. They attacked the Concorde worlds with black ships and burning claws. Planet after planet fell. The great alien fleets fought hard, but they moved in perfect lines, too clean, too slow. The Xiron broke them like glass. When the Xiron turned toward the Orion Arm, where Earth lay, the Concorde sent word: evacuate. They said Earth would not survive. They would not defend it. But Earth said no. President Elena Morris stood on the steps of the Capitol and spoke to every man, woman, and child. "They called us weak," she said, "but we are still here, and we will not run." Kyle put on his uniform again. This time, not to plead, not to wait, but to fight. The first Xiron ships came like shadows in the night. They tore through Earth's outer defenses in minutes. Satellites exploded, space stations burned. Then the drop ships fell, black and jagged, crashing into cities and mountains alike. Chicago was the first to fall. The Xiron machines moved fast, six-legged, with red eyes and claws that cut through steel. They burned buildings, took power, and left nothing but silence. People ran. Some made it to tunnels. Others did not. Kyle Bennett was in Colorado when the attack began. He got orders to report to the Odyssey, a human defense platform in orbit, but the launch site was destroyed, so he drove. For 2 days, he crossed frozen roads and broken towns, his jeep packed with weapons and food. He saw what the Xiron had done. Whole towns wiped out, power lines down, children missing. When he finally reached the high plains, he met Captain Ray Tucker. Ray was a tough man with a scar on his cheek and a voice like gravel. He was leading a small team from the Odyssey who had crash-landed during the first wave. They had survived by hiding in a storm drain until the Xiron passed. Together, they climbed to a mountain base buried under snow. Inside, they found Dr. Nora Pierce, a scientist who had been working on weather tech. She was alone, but she had power, maps, and one working satellite link. She said, "They don't understand us. to Zyron. "They think we fight like the others, clean, slow, in lines. But we don't. We fight in the dirt, in the dark, we adapt." Kyle looked at the map on her screen. Red dots showed where the Zyron were moving. Toward New York, toward Detroit, toward the heart of the continent. "Then we hit them where they don't expect," Kyle said. That night, they sent a message to every surviving unit on Earth. "No more running. We fight now." They used old tunnels, broken roads, and storm cover. Soldiers set traps in subway systems. Drones were launched from school rooftops. In Kansas, farmers used tractors to dig trenches and hide missile launchers. When the Zyron came to Denver, they walked into a trap. Bombs blew up under their feet. Electric pulses from Nora's weather machine confused their sensors. Soldiers fired from rooftops, alleys, and sewers. For the first time, the Zyron lost a battle. Word spread. People began to hope. And in the dark of space, the Concorde watched. They saw the fires on Earth, but they also saw something else. The humans were not broken. They were just getting started.
The Zyron did not stop. After the fight in Denver, they changed their plan. They sent bigger machines, tall black walkers with eyes that glowed like fire. They dropped gravity bombs that crushed whole blocks in seconds. Cities fell one by one. The air turned dark with smoke. On the Odyssey platform, Ray Tucker and his team fought to stay alive. The station was damaged, power was low, and 2 of their engines were dead. They had no help from the Concorde. The aliens were still fighting their own wars far away. Down on Earth, Kyle and Nora stayed in the mountain base. Food was running out. The cold crept through the walls. But Nora had an idea. "Their minds are linked," she said, pointing at a screen full of moving lines. "The Zyron think as one, fast, clean, perfect. But human thoughts are messy, loud, full of noise. What if we used that?" Kyle looked at her. "You want to fight them with noise?" "Not just noise," she said. "Chaos, music, random signals, things their system can't understand. If we blast it from the old deep space array in Alaska, it could mess up their control." It was a crazy plan. The array had not worked in years. Alaska was frozen, far away, and full of Zyron patrols. But they had no other choice. Kyle picked 5 soldiers. They took a broken military truck and drove north. The roads were gone. They crossed frozen lakes and dead forests. Snowstorms hit them every night. One by one, the team got sick. 2 didn't make it. When they reached the array, it was half buried in ice. Wires hung like vines. The main tower leaned to one side. For 3 days, they worked in the cold, fixing power, cleaning snow, restarting the system. On the 4th night, the Zyron found them. Machines came through the storm, red eyes cutting through the dark. The soldiers fought hard. They used mines, fire, and old guns. One man stayed behind to blow up a path and save the rest. Kyle and Nora got the system online. A deep hum rose from the ground. Then a pulse of sound and light shot into the sky, wild, fast, and full of human noise. Songs, voices, laughter, static, screams, everything at once. In the air, Zyron drones froze. Their lights blinked. Then they fell like rain. In orbit, Ray saw it happen. He said, "It's working." And he smiled for the first time in weeks. On Earth, people looked up. The machines were stopping. The war was not over. But for the first time, humanity had struck back in a way the Zyron could not understand. After the pulse from Alaska, the Zyron slowed. Their machines stopped moving. Some fell from the sky. Others just stood still, like statues in the snow. It was not the end, but it was a break, a chance. In the days that followed, the Conquered sent a ship to Earth, not to fight, to watch. A tall alien commander named Vraxis stepped out. He had silver skin, sharp eyes, and wore a dark, smooth suit that looked like liquid metal. He walked through the ruins of Denver with Kyle beside him. "Your signal," Vraxis said. "It was not clean, not ordered. It was wild." "That's what we are," Kyle said. "We don't think like you. We don't fight like you, but we keep going." Vraxis looked at the people. Kids playing near a fire, workers fixing a water line, soldiers helping the injured. He saw no fear in their faces, only strength. He went back to his ship and sent a message to the Conquered. "Earth is not weak. They fight with heart. We should learn from them." Soon, alien ships came, not to take over, but to help. They brought medicine, tools, and weapons. But they also asked questions. How did humans plan? How did they lead? Why did they never give up? Nora showed them her research. Ray taught them how to use traps and surprise attacks. Kyle trained their soldiers to think fast, not just follow orders. Together, they planned a big attack. The Xyron had a base near Mars, a huge black station floating in space. It controlled the rest of their forces. If it fell, the whole army would break. The plan was risky. Human ships would fly in first, fast and low, using Earth's old stealth tech. Then, Conquered cruisers would come from behind, hidden in a solar storm. It was not perfect. It was loud, messy, full of risk. On the day of the attack, the sky lit up. Lasers flashed, ships spun and fired. The Xyron fought hard, but they could not keep up with the mix of human speed and alien power. Kyle's ship was hit. Smoke filled the cabin, but they reached the station. They planted bombs and ran. When the explosion came, the black base broke into pieces. Across the solar system, Xyron machines stopped. The Conquered had won many battles before, but this one felt different. They had not won with strength alone. They had won with help, with trust. That night, Vraxis stood beside Kyle on the bridge of a shared ship. "We thought order was power," he said, "but you showed us that hope is stronger." Kyle looked at the stars. Earth was far behind, but he could still feel it, still fight for it.
The war was over. The Xyron were gone. Their black ships had fallen or fled, and the silence in space was deep and calm. Earth still bore scars, burned cities, empty towns, graves on every continent. But life was returning. Trees grew through cracked roads. Children played in rebuilt schools. Lights came back on. At Syra Prime, the Galactic Concord held a great meeting. This time, Earth was invited to sit with the leaders. President Elena Morris walked into the hall, not as a beggar, not as a weak species, but as a leader. Behind her were Kyle Bennett, Nora Pierce, and Ray Tucker. They wore simple uniforms, clean but not shiny. They did not need flash to show their strength. The hall was full of aliens, tall, short, some with no eyes, some with many. They watched in silence as Morris stepped forward. "You called us weak," she said, her voice clear and strong. "You said we were not ready. But when the darkness came, we did not run. We fought. Not for land, not for power, but for each other." A hush fell. Then, one by one, the alien leaders stood. Even the Veln, who had once looked down on humanity, rose from their seats. A vote was taken. Earth was no longer a Tier 4 species. It was now Tier 1. Not because of its weapons or ships, but because of its spirit. After the meeting, Kyle walked through the station's wide halls. He looked out at the stars. He thought of Chicago, of the soldiers who didn't come back, of the cold nights in Alaska. It had been hard. So many had given everything. Nora stood beside him. "Do you think they'll ever see us the same?" she asked. "Maybe not," Kyle said. "But they see us now." Ray joined them smiling. "And they fight like us now. I saw a Sarnath unit using ambush tactics yesterday. Looked just like Colorado." They laughed. It was a good sound. Later, Vraxis came to them. "We want to learn more. Your history, your music, your way of life." Kyle nodded. "We'll teach you, but remember, we are not perfect. We argue, we fail, we hurt each other. But we also rise. Every time." Back on Earth, fireworks lit the sky. People danced in the streets. In schools, teachers told the story of how humanity was once called weak until the war started. And across the stars, new ships flew under a new flag, not just for Earth, but for all who believed that courage, not power, made a species strong.